the rodeo clown to his home state of Texas with open arms, and other conservatives are rallying around to the rodeo clown's defense. The Wall Street Journal's Peggy Noonan writes that the president himself should come to the rodeo clown's aid. Noonan thinks Mr. Obama should say he loves free speech, including inevitably derision directed at him, and he does not wish for the Missouri State Fair to fire the guy, and hopes those politicians damning the clown and the crowd would pipe down and just relax. May I be blunt? This whole controversy is being blown way out of proportion, and it's just kind of stupid now. Here to tell me I'm wrong, or I'm not, Jason Johnson. He's a political science professor at Hiram College. And James Richardson, he's a Republican blogger. Thanks to both of you for being with me and being willing to talk about the rodeo clown.
Thanks for having me on.
So, James, it boils down to this for me. The Missouri State Fair hired this guy to perform at the rodeo. They didn't like what he did, and as an employer, it is their right to fire him. And this has nothing at all to do with free speech.
It's their prerogative to fire him, but I would say that, you know, there were obvious elements of this stunt that were inappropriate, and I think even supporters of the clown's free speech would concede as much. But people go to the rodeo with the expectation of ridiculous, crude, and often outrageous behavior. I mean, these are performers that are working in mud and cow dung, after all. So, you know, you go there with the expectation to watch something outrageous, and frankly, President Obama has not been made uniquely or unfairly targeted as the butt of a presidential joke. I mean, in 1994, a rodeo clown in Pennsylvania had a bull charge an effigy of former President George H.W. Bush. That clown, he wasn't fired. You know, there wasn't a national outrage. So there are obvious differences here, that primarily one being race.
Look at Jason's face over there. Look at his face.
This is so crazy. Look, it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious, okay? You like baseball, Carol. You ever seen the Nationals where they have the presidents run around and stuff like that? Making fun of the presidents is perfectly cool. The issue is when you have politicians like Representative Stockman who want to make this something else. If I'm going to the state fair, I want fried Twinkies, I want cotton candy, and I don't really care about politics. And everybody who's running this fair, they're like, look, we don't want this. We don't want this kind of attention in Missouri. So they have every right to fire this guy, and the politicians who want to make hay about it and turn it into an unnecessary racial issue, that's the problem.
And frankly, James, if people were upset about George H.W. Bush's effigy getting run over by a bull, nobody came out. I mean, why didn't they come out then and rally around this rodeo clown? Why did they make a big deal about this particular? And just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's right now.
It's not just Steve Stockman that's making this an issue. It's also people on the left, and really it's complacent agitators on both sides of the aisle that are trying to turn this non-issue into the outrage du jour. You know, they'd rather spend a week bickering about a clown than talking about the nature and scope of our involvement in Egypt, or things that actually matter. I mean, we're right now talking about a man in makeup.
And James is right, because the Missouri NAACP got in the middle of this. For what reason?
I think they got in the middle of it because there are always these elements. Look, you see it in Arizona, you see it in some of the protests. If you hate Barack Obama, if you hate Obama because he's black or you don't like the Affordable Care Act, that's fine. Just do it at a protest. Don't do it at something where $400,000 of state money is being spent, because there are Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody who's there. And I think the NAACP or any other organization, I don't think it's because they're liberal. I think they're saying, hey, that's tax money, and you're not supposed to be doing that with tax money.
Well, and the other thing, like, all of these conservatives are coming out in support of this rodeo clown. They're rallying around this rodeo clown. Is that really what they want to do?
Well, you know,
a rodeo clown?
Congressman
Really?
Stockman is a freshman Republican, and there are a few better ways to make a name for yourself in a large conference than to say and do outrageous things. You know, I think that that's an element of that, to make a name for himself in the House. But I don't think it's necessarily wise to rally as a movement behind this guy who, by all rights, did something imprudent.
That's one word for it. Jason Johnson, James Richardson, thank you so much for discussing the rodeo clown this morning. Still to come in the newsroom, something serious now.